Welcome back, my friends. Skirt.
Hey guys, just some ordinary dude here, and welcome to another edition of Discussions with the Dude. Today I am joined by two guests. First, we've got, accompanied by his niece in the park, we've got Josh Pulliam. How are you?
How you doing?
And we've also got Matthew, aka ZeotheRobot. How are you today?
Doing good. Hey guys.
Okay, great. And this is the second time we've actually attempted to record this, because the first time a few technical difficulties happened, and I'm hoping they don't continue, or at least aren't too bad, but we're going to try anyway. So we're going to discuss the 10-year anniversary of the Loud House. The Loud House, through thick and thin, it has now lasted 10 years as of the recording of this video. On May the 2nd, 2016, the first episode of the official series broadcast, and the rest is history. The Loud House obviously came out at a time when Nickelodeon programming wasn't particularly strong. SpongeBob was like really the only big thing it had, and then this series came along, and it did seem to impress a lot of people. And over the years, unfortunately, its reputation has soured. Not entirely its own fault. A lot of other things happened. And it appears we have somebody else joining us today. Joaco, I think this is a first for you. I can't remember you having joined us. Are you okay?
Hello guys.
Hello. I believe this is your first time doing Discussions with the Dude. Is that right?
He's not saying that. I think audio issues for him on his end.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's kind of interesting because I know he can communicate perfectly good English, but I know he's not very good at speaking it, which is why he said he never did this before. That's interesting. But we'll see if... Okay, we've got another member of the fandom of our chat group, Joaco, trying to join in. We'll see if he ends up joining in in a moment. In the meantime, let's continue with me, Josh, and Matthew. So, yeah, Loud House obviously reached a milestone, blah, blah, blah. In those 10 years, it has changed and evolved a lot as a program, as a franchise, in terms of its direction, its creative vision, its trends of focus. Obviously, it started out as a very sort of slice of life, domesticated premise. It was very much about the actual titular Loud family, the Loud House itself. Obviously, the main premise that Chris Savino came up with was 1 boy, 10 girls, wouldn't trade it for the world, all living in one roof. And obviously, all the shenanigans that happened with that. So that's how the show started. And not all the episodes were great, mind you. There were a lot of misfires, but there were also a lot of gems. Episodes like Space Invader and A Tattler's Tale from the first season were definitely home runs for the early series. Obviously, as time has progressed, the franchise has expanded. It expanded massively. Its world building is immense. You can't deny that. For better or for worse, the show has become more about the wider world of the family member, all the friend groups of the siblings and all the supporting characters in town like Flip and Scoots and Chandler and so on, and because of all that world building, obviously the focus has shifted over the years, and a lot of people have had issues with that. But I still think the show is going strong. It's better than people give it credit for. I mean, there are a lot of areas for improvement with the Loud House. But I still think it is a very solid show even now. There are a lot of great episodes from each season, from each era of the program. And I guess what we can do while we're here is we can each share our overall thoughts of the show, how we became fans, and how we feel about how it's changed over time. So, yeah, Matthew, you said you wanted to start us off, so would you like to begin?
Well, like I said in the first recording when we did this podcast, it's amazing how it went from just like one boy and 10 girls under one roof to like expanding like all of Royal Woods, and you got all these like friends like Rusty, you got Liam, you got all these amazing people in Royal Woods.
Yeah. And now, interestingly, Josh, obviously you've got your niece with you. Now, you said that she's the one who got you into the Loud House. Well, the Casa Grande's first, in the first place, and then the Loud House by extension.
When we were celebrating her 4th birthday, her and her friend Marley were watching it on TV, and I was just catching a glimpse, and I found it hilarious.
Yeah. I think you did sort of elaborate a bit on this story in a previous podcast we did.
Yep.
But it's like, yeah, obviously you started with the Casa Grande first, so you have a very unique perspective. But when did you first get into the Loud House specifically? Like, obviously it was later on.
Well, the first episode I watched fully was the Thanksgiving episode, and that was around Thanksgiving. I figured that'd be a good start. Yeah. See what the Casa Grande's connections were to the Louds and all that.
Yeah.
Because it was a crossover with them.
Yeah, the loudest Thanksgiving, take it. Yeah. Yeah. So
watching since then.
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously been watching it since very early on, like since mid-season 1, something like that. And essentially, it's a little bit embarrassing to say it now because he doesn't have the best reputation anymore. But at the time, I did sort of watch a little bit of Mr. Enter. And I think he was talking about the Powerpuff Girls reboot that came out around the same time. And at the end of that video, I think he mentioned Loud House. And I just happened to see he showed like a 10-second clip of it or something. And I thought, that looks interesting. That looks like it has promise. So I'll check it out.
Crud.
So what?
You go. My niece, she's over here stuffing this little horn thing full of that little wood crud on the ground.
Okay. Right, yeah. So anyway,
kind of a goof.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, sort of what I was saying was, yeah, so after that, I watched a couple of episodes. I think one of them might have been Sweet. Oh,
someone else.
Hello, Turtle. You're fashionably late as usual. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How about you? Just watching some movies.
Yeah, we've got Josh and Matthew here, and it says Joaco's name, but he was here for about 5 seconds, and now he's gone again.
Hey, Joaco, how's it going?
I don't think he's still here.
Oof.
But yeah, it's glad that you could join us. Zane was here, but he left during our...
Can I say something?
What? Oh, for fuck. And now Turtle's gone. I don't know what's going on here. This is ridiculous.
Probably busy, I don't know.
I'm starting to see more problems I have with
Alejindio here. Everybody's like joining in and out of this podcast. It's hilarious. Hello, Alejindio. How are you? If he's actually here.
Working?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah, you're about the third guy who's joined in. And then left, or well, you haven't left yet, but we just had Turtle join about a minute before you, and then he went straight away. Zane was here at the start, but he's long since gone. I think I can just hear noise from Joaco. Is he back?
He was here for a little bit, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're sort of in the middle of the conversation about how we all got into the Loud House and how it's evolved over time and everything. And I was just saying that it's a slightly embarrassing thing, but I did get into it because of a video Mr. Enter made. At the time, I did still watch his content. And basically, what was I going to say?
I want to speak a bit about something.
Of course, yeah.
I think the biggest problem is not the show, it's the fandom, because outside they see the they think the fandom it's like horrible. For that they think the series is horrible. For example, I watched the show because I want to give a chance because I say that maybe it was not so bad, and so I watch it and I really like it. And so I think the biggest problem is the fandom so bad because the show itself it's not bad.
Yeah.
No,
There's like
I mean, the show
like a-
is actually quite good, but it just has a bit of a bad reputation. And part of that is the fandom, as you say. Yes, there are many toxic parts of this fandom. Not all of it, mind you. And
for
we've got
example, I
back,
think
but yeah. But anyway, it's just like, yeah, I think the reputation of the show it's very overhated. Like, look, it has problems, but it's still a very good series. It still has a lot of strong episodes, but because of the reputation of the fandom and the creator and some other things, it's like everybody hates it, and it's just like this really unfortunate set of circumstances that we're in, because it would be nice to have a healthier and happier experience as being a Loud House fan, if that makes sense.
For example, I think some characters have improved so much, like Lori Lenny,
Can't get no bubbles out here, cute.
but the people don't get that because the only thing, for example, in the community Hispanic, they talk just about the fanfics,
Grandpa got a bubble.
and you know that part horrible
Yeah.
and creepypasta. I wish the show should be talk about how is the series, not the fandom and fanfics, because I think have a good episode, really good.
Yeah.
Even if it's later that they think is bad, but it's not so bad how the people think is.
No. I suppose that, yeah, it's a fair point. But yeah, as I was sort of saying a few minutes ago, yeah, when I first got into this show, yeah, because of a silly little Mr. Enter video, I watched a couple of episodes from season 1 because the show was still new at the time, and I think the first ones I might have watched were like The Sweet Spot and Sounds of Silence, maybe. It was something like that, and they were very good episodes. But obviously, the one that really made me a true fan was the episode Space Invader. I'm sure that comes as a surprise to no one. It's my favourite episode of the show, even now. But it is just like brilliant storytelling. And I refuse to believe Chris Savino had as much to do with it as it says, because when you look at the rest of his track record, he's not a very good writer. But
It really is.
Yeah. In fact,
If he was still in charge of the show today, it probably would have ended after its 3rd season.
probably. Most people want him back, but let's think about it. His track record wasn't exactly great, was it? Him leaving, it created other problems, don't get me wrong, but it also fixed a lot of them. Like, do people not forget that early episodes often made the sisters overly mean-spirited and hive-minded? Do people forget that the early episodes had, like, creepy shit, like Clyde having a crush on Laurie and getting nosebleeds over it?
Oh,
Like, do you actually think that Chris Savino would make it better?
you know something funny? Now that you mentioned the episode of Space Invader,
Yeah.
That episode here in Latin America, that's the most. How can I say it? That's the episode that you can see the most of the first season here, because I think it's the most popular of the first season.
Yeah, fair enough. And I don't find that surprising. It is brilliant storytelling. It's a great sibling dynamic. It portrays Lynn in the absolute best way possible. It shows her as a rough type, but not like maliciously mean-spirited in any sort of way. And her dynamic with Lincoln is absolutely perfect here, which most episodes don't quite get right.
Did you ever have a sibling growing up?
Yeah. And yeah, sorry. Josh is just talking to his niece. He's spending time with her. So if you hear him saying stuff, then he's just talking to her. So just yeah.
Well, I was talking about the Lynn haters.
Yeah.
I was like, whenever I come across someone who says they don't like her, and I'm like, she's mean to her brother, and I'm like, did you ever have a sibling growing up? Huh? They do that to each other.
What, you mean Lynn?
Yes, Lynn. She's one of my
Yeah.
favorites.
Yeah, but I really agree, but in fact, I always thought that maybe, even in the fanfics or in the show, the people always assume that she and Lincoln are the closest, and I really agree with that. But to be really honest, I really didn't like what they done to her because, by example, maybe this kind of stupid, but I really don't like that the Stinkan stayed. Why it stayed? Why in every episode she has to call him Stinking?
I guess it's because it's sort of similar to how I guess Ronnie Ann used to call him Lamo in the earlier seasons, and it seemed to work there, so they sort of thought it's some weird quirk that they have in their sibling relationship. Lynn is basically like the sort of honorary older sort of roughhousing brother to Lincoln in a lot of ways.
I always thought, I always thought that, I get you what you say about Ronnie Ann and Lynn, but with Lynn, maybe I can kind of, accept it. But with Ronnie Ann, there has to be a point where Lincoln tells her, hey, Ronnie, stop to call me Lamo. Come on.
Well, to be honest, it didn't last that long, did it? Because obviously Ronnie Ann didn't stay that way for too long. By about season 3 or 4, she's already softening up. And the Lamo sort of nickname just kind of disappeared over time, didn't it? Ronnie Ann now is basically a completely different character to the one that we got back in season 1. That is a clear as day fact. Whereas, it's almost like the closest we're ever going to get to her again is, I guess, Kara. She's a little bit closer to season 1 Ronnie Ann, not quite the same, but similar-ish, if that makes sense. And I guess she's the replacement for early seasons Ronnie Ann, except she's probably a bit friendlier, actually, because she's not really a bully as such.
What are you doing, you goof?
But anyway, as I tell you, at least for me, I really don't like that the thinking state. At some point, Lincoln should tell her, Lynn, stop calling me that.
Well, again, that's a little thing. I don't mind little stuff like that. He doesn't seem to mind it so much. In fact, I think the main issue there is certain episodes that don't portray their dynamic in the best light. Episodes like the subplot of Schooled, or No Such Luck is the obvious example, but let's not even go there. I've had enough of it. We've spoke about that enough. I do think overall their dynamic is still very good. They have a lot of great episodes together, like Dis the Cook, or even episodes where they're just sort of interacting well, like in Can't Lin 'Em All, for example. But I think it's just the fact that those little moments do stick in your brain, because they sort of relate back to those really bad episodes, and it is what it is. But I will say, in spite of all that, I still think Lynn and Lincoln are two of my favourite characters, and I still think Space Invader is a particularly brilliant episode. It's probably the only time I could really say Chris Sabino had any kind of great creative vision, because let's face it, the guy's track record otherwise is pretty dog shit. But I suppose while we've got a few more of us here, would anybody else sort of like to elaborate on just how they became fans in the first place, and how they feel about how the show and the franchise as a whole has changed over time?
I guess I'll do mine then. Well, I first discovered Loud House. I think when the first season was still around, it was at an IHOP, and my younger cousins were watching. I remember the episode was The Price of Admission, and at first I didn't like what the show was giving, but as I started watching it later on, I was like, maybe there is something to this after all.
Yeah, I suppose that's a fair enough point. Want to elaborate a bit further, or anything on? Or want to go into anything specific, or just?
That's all I remember.
Okay. Turtle, you've only just joined us recently. what you got to say about that? How did you first get into the show, and how do you feel about how the franchise has evolved over time?
Oh, me?
I was asking you, well, Turtle, but I don't know where he's gone. Are you there?
Turtle, you there?
I think he's gone again. For God's sake.
Oh,
Okay, Josh, you can say something if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't know what to say. I mean, with all the rumors and the fact that the show's practically dead in the water.
Well, there's nothing official yet, but yeah.
To wrap things up. I mean, a lot of speculation about that emotional roller coaster. It being a full-length clip show episode. That usually is when certain shows do close its doors.
Yeah.
Is you on a clip show episode.
Well, that's what they keep saying. Yeah, apparently the season 11 finale, Emotional Roller Coaster, will be a clip show episode, and it's rumored to be the finale to the entire series. Now, again, that's not confirmed by any official sources, but it is hypothetical at this point. Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm kind of a whatever happens kind of state of mind at this point.
At this point, I really don't know what to think anymore. I mean, everyone's sort of talking about the 10-year anniversary, and here's my honest take on that. Longevity doesn't matter. Quality, legacy, that matters. And, I want the franchise to be more favourably viewed. I want to have more great episodes, and you know what I mean. And I don't think it matters if the show's 10 years old or 20 years old or only 2 years old. What matters is how great it was while it was around. And it was a very good show. It wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. It could have. I think there's a lot of potential for a reboot. But as it is, the show has a lot of great episodes throughout the various seasons. I wouldn't say it's gone through seasonal rot in the same way that so many others have. I think the early seasons had their strengths and weaknesses, and the later seasons had their strengths and weaknesses. Season 1 had gems like Space Invader and A Tatler's Tale. Season 3 had gems like Middlemen and Hero Stay Gone Tomorrow and various other ones. And season 6 had some great gems like So Far So Good. And Love Stinks and stuff like that, and and even season 9, and season 10, and season 8, they all have like great episodes, and they all have some stinkers in there. They all have some meh duds, like what I mean. So it's not a clear-cut case of seasonal rot. I think there are a lot of things that later seasons actually do better than the older ones. It's just the fact that it does also, as we said, the show has diverted away from its core premise over time to focus more on friend groups and supporting cast members and the expanded world of the Loud House. And not all of the supporting cast members are that particularly interesting, and some of the premise, like some of the concepts they've came up with for episodes just aren't particularly intriguing or inspiring. Whereas there are tons of episodes you wish the show really would do. Like you wish the show would give Luna another interest outside of music. You wish the show would give them more like heroic moments. You wish the show would do more sibling pairings. It took them 9 whole seasons to finally do a Luna and Luan episode. I already did 2 Luna and Luan stories way before that point. Where's my credit?
Yeah, just one thing. I'm sorry for interrupting you, Josh. I'm really sorry, but is there any way? I mean, you can like mute or something. I hear a lot of static while doing talking,
Josh. I mean, Josh is in the park right now. Is there a way you can like sort of tone down the surroundings? I suppose not, probably, but yeah.
Well, I could take it off speaker here. How's that?
Okay,
Can you hear me fine now?
Yeah, we can still hear you. We can't really hear anything else at the moment. Well, we could hear your niece, but yeah, we can't hear a lot of other noise. We'll let you know if that changes, but at the moment it sounds a bit better. So try that.
That was the thing. I had it on speaker earlier.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's fine if you're indoors, but when you're in the park with various people around you and noises and the wind blowing and everything, it can create sound static and interference and stuff. But to be honest, it doesn't matter at this stage. I'm just sort of we're just sort of powering through it now. We've had a lot of weird stuff happen in the last half hour. We've had people join and go constantly.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry for interrupting you. Okay, look, for what you were talking about the show, I mean, in my opinion, to be honest, we don't know if this 11th season will be the last one.
No.
I really hope not. I mean, I really like it to continue because why? Because I really have hope to see some characters to evolve, you know? And the only I have to say this, I don't know if you agree with me. The only character I completely have no hope at all anymore is Lori. Lori. We have seen that she won't evolve. She went practically back to a square zero. Even worse, because she doesn't have any dreams anymore. She doesn't have the golf. She doesn't have the other university she was going to go. I mean, I really don't expect nothing from Lori. Well, she just came back to be Bobby's girlfriend, and that's it. You know?
Yeah, I will say this. Like, here's the like when fans make these common criticisms, and the show actually listens to these specific criticisms, it usually doesn't go well. Like, for example, people have been complaining for a few years now, we want Laurie back. Ever since she went to Fairway University, everyone wanted her to come back and be a main part of the show again. And I was actually thinking to myself the whole time, why? Laurie had already evolved and developed perfectly as a character.
Right?
She had a perfect arc, and it concluded brilliantly. And just relegating her to a supporting character status at Fairway was fine. Honestly, she appeared sparingly, and when she did, it was generally still a good appearance. So why do you need to force bringing her back just to put her into more narratives where you've got chances to devolve her character and degrade it back to square one, like you said? And that's exactly it's not been that bad, but it hasn't exactly helped her character since she's came back. It's not really added anything to the show or to her character arc or an overall journey across the seasons. And it's like maybe they should have just kept her at Fairway. But obviously they listened to because a lot of people wanted her to come back as a main character. Okay, you got what you wanted. Are you happy with that? It's like when people were complaining in season 3 and 4 when they said, "Oh, there's too many episodes about the sisters now. We're not getting enough Lincoln anymore. We're not getting enough Lincoln episodes." So what they start doing lots of Lincoln and Friends episodes, and then everyone hates that, and it's like, okay.
Oh, I so hate the Lincoln's Friends episodes.
I don't know. I mean,
I think they're all right. I mean, they're not all great, but I think they're okay.
Are good.
Look, I mean, once in a while it's okay, but oh my God, there were a lot of them.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because there was that criticism at that period of the show in seasons 3 and 4 where Lincoln was almost becoming a side character because there was more episodes focusing on the sisters and their groups and their pairings and everything. And then suddenly they think, okay, we'll give you more Lincoln, but it will be Lincoln and Friends. And I know the argument to that is, why not do more Lincoln and Sisters episodes? And here's kind of the interesting thing. When... Like, we complain about the supporting characters and the friend group episodes and everything. But here's the interesting conundrum here. It's when they interact with their friend groups that the characters are actually at their best in terms of how they're, like, portrayed personality-wise. Because when we get family-centric episodes, that's when they tend to get degraded back down to their base season 1 selves, if that makes it. That's when their flaws are really on display, and it's like, you're in a catch-22. You either get more family episodes where the characters get degraded, or you get more friend episodes where we don't get much of the Loud family. And I think part of the problem is that nobody who's ever really worked on the show could consistently narrate and write family-centric stuff well.
Are you all right?
That's kind of the
You
problem.
want to come down?
These writers, they're
Come on,
talented,
cutie.
but
Let's
don't
help her
really
down.
get it. They don't quite get what would make the badass
Oh,
perfect.
wait. I think she's getting to the top.
Okay, do you want to go and sort that? We'll just carry on.
All right. She did it.
Oh, yeah.
Wait,
Reminder.
wait a little, dude.
We were helping a little girl get up this, like, jungle gym.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
She was crying at first, but now me and my niece, we helped her out.
that's really sweet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
Look, as we were saying, it's like you said, right? I mean, why they return Lori? The answer is simple: to win her. That's the answer. I mean, I always believe that once Lori was gone, what was the next step? Do the same with Lenny. Lenny, I don't know. She got,
has
a
also
scholarship
evolved
from
as a character, though.
a five-star university. I mean, let the big sisters go.
Yeah.
Now it's Lenny's turn.
Yeah,
She
well,
goes
Lenny
away as
already
well,
kind of has evolved as a character as well when you think about it. Like in season 1, for example, she was very much like sort of the generically stupid.
Lenny's another one of my favorites.
Whereas like in later seasons, she's got a job, she's become financially independent, she's become a good like caretaker to the siblings, like Laurie was, like in the Boss Maybe and stuff like that. She's become.
Yeah.
She still has her moments of dim-wittedness, but she's like smarter than she was. She has come a long way in a lot of respects as a character, in terms of her personality, in terms of her intelligence, in terms of her ability to look after the siblings, to be a bit more strong and assertive in a certain way. She has, Lenny, like Laurie, has grown as a character a lot over the years. So I will say, like, Lenny, before season 8, Laurie was a perfectly developed character, and Lenny, I'd say, still is, actually. They're probably the two characters, and maybe Lola, who have had
but there is also
representation across the seasons in terms of how they've been written. Yeah, the other siblings are being consistent.
Yeah, but I mean, I get what you say, and you're right. I mean, Lenny has evolved a lot, but sometimes, oh my God, what they do to her, like that episode when Lori was no longer there, and she says she cannot dress without Lori. I mean, really?
Yeah.
That was kind of weird. Schooled was kind of a mixed feelings kind of episode.
Schooled was an interesting case because you have the main plot was generally fine. I didn't like the subplot with Lynn as the hall monitor. I had mixed feelings on the Lenny subplot.
Lenny.
Okay, yeah.
Or having Lenny go to daycare and thinking that it's her new school, that was kind of degrading.
I don't think it was.
Lenny, you really don't like their toddlers?
Yeah. I think it's more. I don't think it's like they were saying
something funny,
but it's more that they were saying that she relates to them because I guess she had a bit of a still have a somewhat childlike-ish mind at the time. Yeah, I don't know.
Something. One question I don't remember very well. Who is Lenny's actual boyfriend?
Oh yeah.
She's currently going out with a guy named River.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
River,
at least I think he is.
And there was Scott. And there was
I want to face it.
4 seasons. Now suddenly River's on the scene. I have no idea what they're doing with her anymore.
Yeah, she had an on-screen breakup, off-screen breakup with that Gavin character, and then.
Yeah. I really like him, but something that was really, they did it again. It was for me a moment as, oh my God, they did it again. It's like when River tells Lenny that she also works where she works, and he tells him, I own the second floor. And Lenny says, we have a second floor? I mean, really, Lenny? You didn't know that? I mean, you work there and you didn't know that?
Yeah. But I think anyway, we're sort of going into tangents.
That was kind of. What is that? What is that needed to make her look stupid sometimes?
Well, I suppose that's the thing. Because I think here's the biggest issue. Show runtime, because you have to implement. You have to sort of forcibly add quick, cheap gags that sometimes don't particularly make the characters look their best in order to satisfy a young casual audience for an 11-minute runtime. That creates so many practical issues, and I actually think either extend it to 22 minutes or, better yet, get fucking Loud Ass out of Nickelodeon's hands, put it in a streaming service, and remove a time limit, remove a set running time altogether, so it could just be as long as it needs to be, and you can really intellectually craft each line of dialogue, each gag, each moment, each pivotal plot point, and just make it technically better, and you don't have to like force little quick cheap jokes in like that one that you just mentioned. I do think the franchise would benefit greatly from that. It benefited shows like Hilda, which obviously runs on Netflix. And so why not do that for something like Loud Ass? Because there were so many episodes where I'm like, it was either too long or too short, and just abolish runtimes. That's an old, outdated way of doing programming now, anyway. I mean, I keep hearing these rumours that not only is the Loud Ass ending soon, but apparently Nickelodeon might be fucking ending soon. So who knows? Who knows what the future of the franchise is, right?
Well, it happened to Cartoon Network, so why not?
Yeah, everything's just... I mean, let's face it. We were all kids. Our childhood was the likes of Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, whatever it's called. It was called Disney Channel where I'm from. It might just be called something else. Disney where you were from. Well, no, not Disney Plus. It was Disney Channel and there was Disney XD, wasn't there? I think that came a bit later. My country, when I was a really young kid, it was just Disney Channel. But anyway, it was the age of the likes of Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and stuff like that. Networks like that back then. Nowadays, they're outdated. They're kind of irrelevant. They're obsolete because streaming services offer so much. Like, you could do so much more. Like, it's about the age of Netflix and Disney Plus and Amazon Prime and Paramount Plus and all that now, isn't it? It's not really about Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network anymore. They're just sort of dead in the water anyway. Yeah.
They're a product of a bygone era, basically.
Yeah. Now, interestingly, do any of you know of the origin of Nickelodeon itself? Obviously, the network that allowed that to be a thing. Are any of you actually aware of how that? I think did you say this in a previous podcast about Count Duckula?
What about I said something about it being the first unofficial Nicktoon.
Yeah, that's what you said
back in the day.
So there was a sort of British animated series called it was about Count Duckula. It had I think it was David Jason.
It was a spin-off show to a previous series called Danger Mouse.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a big thing in my country back then, 1980s. And in both shows, the main voice actor was a guy called David Jason, or now he's known as Sir David Jason. And I don't know, have any of you ever heard of the show Only Fools and Horses? Do any of you know what that is? I bet you don't.
I actually did look into that. I remember he was part of it.
Yeah, that was his biggest show.
He played a character named Del Boy.
Yeah, Derek Trotter. Or
Derek Trotter, better known as Del Boy.
It is one of the greatest written shows of all time, actually, and probably the funniest comedy I've ever seen. Because it went so far above being a comedy. But he also did a lot of voice work in the 80s, and that sort of gave birth to Nickelodeon in that respect. Because without Only Fools and Horses, we wouldn't have had a Danger Mouse, which means we wouldn't have had a Count Duckula, which means we probably wouldn't have had, at least as we know it, Nickelodeon.
He even did a good Mr. Toad in Wind in the Willows.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. So without that comedy show, we wouldn't have had a Nickelodeon, and we probably wouldn't have had a Loud House, at least not as we know it. We also wouldn't have had an Avatar or a Hey Arnold or a SpongeBob or a Rugrats or any of that sort of thing. So we owe a lot to Del Boy and Only Fools and Horses, don't we?
Yeah.
But yes.
We also wouldn't have Fanboy and Chum Chum, so everything would not be that bad, you know?
Oh, yeah. And what's the other one? Breadwinners?
Never saw that.
Jay and Craig? Oh, God.
No, don't talk about.
I saw one episode of Breadwinners, and then I was like, goodbye.
This is probably why the Loud House
You know something funny? To think that they rejected Adventure Time for Fanboy and Chum Chum.
Yeah.
They rejected Adventure Time for that crappy show.
But let's be fair. At the very least, all those shows being around during the early to mid 2010s decade would kind of allowed the Loud House to have a bit more of a fighting chance, because aside from SpongeBob, Nickelodeon didn't really have any. I suppose it still had the Turtles cartoon was still going, the 2012 one at that time. But other than that and SpongeBob, Nickelodeon didn't really have a lot of great animated content for the Loud House to have to fight with. So it had the perfect chance to like really take off. And for a while it did. Obviously, various setbacks stopped it from reaching its full potential, but it still, I think, has been an overall success story. I do hope maybe in the years to come, people will look back at it a little bit more favourably. I get it's not the best, but
one question. I don't know if any of you know. I'm just wondering. Is it true the revival of Jimmy Neutron?
I don't know.
No.
I don't see that happening.
No.
I really want to see that happening. I mean, that show was amazing, you know. But no, they screw it up, you know, because. But I'm very sure they're gonna screw it up, right?
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
But would anyone else sort of like to just elaborate on, you know, where we stand 10 years on from the show's genesis? Would anyone just sort of like to share any other thoughts related to the Loud House before we sort of wrap things up?
Well, I think the show had a pretty good run. I mean, we had, like I said, we had some good and bad
Same
episodes,
here.
and I hope that it keeps running.
I mean, it'd be cool if it would still go, but at this point, maybe it should just cut its losses and just move on.
Yeah,
Maybe become an indie series online. Maybe.
Yeah, I could.
I don't know.
That's pretty hard. By my part, I will say that I mean, I can say that I didn't enjoy the show. I mean, I love the show a lot, but yeah, it has its downsides, you know. Oh, we all know that. But to be honest, I really like it to keep, on track, you know. Yeah. I really like to see at least a couple of more seasons, maybe more if they can. But just on the condition that they really evolve the characters.
Listen, my sister's trying to call me.
Okay, I mean, if you've got to go, Josh, it's fine. It's not a problem.
Yeah, all right, just hold on.
Okay. But as I was saying, I don't mind if the series continues, but there has to be change. There just has to.
I don't know. I'm not convinced. I'm the writers, they're talented people. I'm not convinced they really understand it. And I'm like, I actually am starting to think it would be better if it just ended. But I only say that with the intention of it getting that much needed reboot in a few years' time. It needs a reboot. We all agree on that?
Yeah, I will say that, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Alejindio, recently you read one of my stories, My Fair Nerdy, which was, of course, was based on the stuff you've done with Roy. Would you care to share everyone's thoughts on that? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, my thoughts of the fanfic?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, I read it, and we did art, you know. And to be honest, I really liked, the pick. To be honest, look, it's been a long time since I read fanfic because, you know, I used to do it, but right now, no. But I really got interested in this pick. I'm sorry, in this fanfic. I like the Lola. I like your Lola in this fanfic because, I mean, it's possible to do good stories with it's a proof that we can get good stories of the on the sisters, and it doesn't have to, to focus on what they are supposed to represent. I mean, we can have we can have an episode of Luna not involved in music.
Well, we did.
Like that.
Well, I did one called Souls of Art, which I could also show you if you like.
Yeah, I mean, it's an example,
Yeah, but it's here's fanfic. Here's the thing with fan fictions, and some of them are very good. Fan art, fan fictions, AUs, all that. Most of them are so far removed from what the show is, and they can be very good, but they could never feasibly be made into official, real Loud House content. Like, they could never be a part of the show, could they? Like, you look at all these dark, fanfics, there's no way they could ever be made into official content. The thing is with mine, for those who have read what I
was saying,
do they not feel like basically the ideal version of the show? Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, but look, as I was saying, to wrap this up, for Lola, I really like how you managed Lola here, and not only her, I really like how you manage her friends. Her pageant friends. They have more personality than just a few episodes we have seen them. And I have to be very honest here. I really love what you did with China. What's her name? China. The one who eats a lot.
Yeah, I just.
she was in one of the newer episodes recently.
Yeah, I did. I have seen pictures of an episode that came out yesterday called Shred of Evidence, where they finally do something with the Lola and Lindsay Sweetwater rivalry, which they haven't actually done for 10 seasons, for fuck's sake. I am mildly interested in checking that one out, even though I'm not really watching episodes anymore. But yeah.
Yeah, but I remember I heard China's voice for the first time, and I was like, I can hear Princess Bubblegum.
Yeah.
And, yep, same actress.
Yeah.
Well, let's be fair.
I like that character, to be honest.
Do you also know that Flame Princess is Lynn and Lucy?
Yes, I know. I was like, every time when I was watching Loud House for the first time, I was like, is that Flame Princess playing Lynn?
Yeah, Jessica DeKiko. Well, they've all been around, haven't they? That's the thing. They're all experienced voice actors. I mean, just look at how much the likes of Grey Griffin or John DiMaggio have done over the years.
Yeah.
And have any of you ever watched Better Call Saul? Because John DiMaggio is actually in that in a live action role as like this.
Oh, really?
Worker. Yeah. He's in an episode. Have you seen that show, Josh?
I don't think so.
It's the prequel to Breaking Bad. Saul Goodman.
There's a spin-off to Breaking Bad?
Yeah, it's a prequel series.
Yeah.
Lawyer.
Uh-huh. And I know my dad really was into Breaking Bad back in the day.
But in the Saul Goodman prequel, John DiMaggio does actually appear as a sort of construction worker that Saul basically sort of scams for an episode. It is quite funny, actually.
Uh-huh. I guess I may have to check it out sometime.
I'll send you the video clip. I'm sure I can find a video clip of it. I'll send it to you after this.
I remember you telling me that dude who played Coach Crawford was in Breaking Bad.
The Jonathan Banks, he played Mike Ehrmantraut in both Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. He was the old guy.
Yep.
And he was also the Incredibles 2 as like that agent that Mr. Incredibles sometimes talks to.
Yes. Yeah, I've heard. They just recently opened there's this thing I subscribe to called Voice Actors That Are Everywhere, and every now and then they'll send me one of their shorts of this voice actor person, and Jonathan Banks was one of them, and it showed some. Unfortunately, it didn't include Coach Crawford. I'm like, why?
I don't know. It is what it is. But yeah, to wrap things up, The Loud House, for all its setbacks, has been overall successful. I hope one day it is looked at more fondly. But it has had many great episodes and, strong eras over the years. And I don't know if it will continue or not. We really don't know what the future for this franchise holds. The end could be nearer than some of us would like. but it is what it is, and it has been a good show. But
Probably now for the end.
But I do hope for a reboot because this show has so much fucking potential, doesn't it? But
Come on, cutes, we're going.
yeah. So yeah.
Elena, we're going home.
Yeah. Well, we're finishing up anyway, so
Cutie,
yeah.
come on, we're going home.
Thanks to everyone for being
Your lunch is ready. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks to everyone for being a part of this podcast. Anyone want to say any quick final thoughts before we go, or are we done?
I'll say something for a bit. Happy 10th anniversary, Loud House, Loud Fam. Glad to be here for.
Oh, Zane, you're finally here.
He's been
How
in
have
10
you
minutes.
not heard me?
I mean,
I guess microphone problems actually.
We heard you.
Microphones. No, it's been decent.
Yeah. I'm thinking about it because you left halfway through. You've not really had a chance.
Yeah,
to
I had to.
Okay, if you want to quickly say something that end things off.
anyone hear me?
This will be quick. Sorry. Go on.
Turtle.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure. I was here the whole time, just listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was starting to think that it was. You know what? I was starting to think that it was like that movie Unfriended.
All right.
Oh,
Who is he? You never watched that movie?
no,
Yeah, I heard
no,
that.
I was just listening. I'm not the talk over type of person.
Yeah.
But honestly,
Okay. What I want to say, because we wrapped it up. I mean, to finish with me is that thank you for inviting me. I mean, 10 years of the Loud House. Wow. I mean, not many cartoons today reach that longevity, you know. And I really want to know what we're going to do in the 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
That's cool. So Zane, you were also going to say something, weren't you? So do you just want to? Yeah.
Yeah, it's been impressive from the fact that this show has lasted 10 full years, maybe longer for the pilot or other stuff's happened, but 10 years of this show being on air. It's a sight to see, you know, and all the critic freaking videos on YouTube, TikTok, everywhere. It's been tough being in this fandom, but we hang on and we're still here. And so honestly, it's been really good.
I would like a better experience as a part of this fandom. I really fucking would. But
yeah.
Not
much.
I mean, you know, it's like, you
Yuri,
know,
what are you doing?
I guess it's like Teen Titans Go, you know. I mean, we can hate it, we can speak ill of it, we can want it to die, but they can say, you know what, we're still here.
Yeah. Well, that has probably actually been more.
That's right. Let's both ways.
Had like its own like theatrical movies and stuff, hasn't it?
Yeah, we've had multiple.
But then again, Teen Titans Go was only ever sort of like a piss take sort of spin-off / spoof of the original show. It wasn't meant to be anything masterful. It's just meant to be like funny, dumb shit. And I suppose in a way it was. I mean, it had its audience. With the Loud House, the shame is it has potential to be something exceptional, but it's not really reaching it for a number of reasons. That's the main issue. And also the fandom being toxic. I mean, that's why I want a reboot as well, because I want to make the franchise more popular.
Well, that's exactly what I was talking about. The show should cut its losses, and it can start over as maybe like an indie series,
more popular,
a reboot.
And we can finally phase out all those toxic fans, all those Loud Cess shippers, all those fucking no such look obsessed guys, all those douchebags. You know which ones I'm talking about. So many of them. We want to get rid of all of those.
Win haters.
We want to get rid of all those people, but we want to have a decent fandom left afterwards. But the only way to do that is to expand the fandom to make that portion of it a smaller percentage, so it's easier to just casually phase them out. That's what I've been trying to do all these years, and I just wish people would help me do it, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. You know? I mean,
I'm hoping for a spin-off that ages the characters up. So
I don't want a spin-off. I don't want it based off
or a continuation, whatever.
We don't need another all grown up, okay?
No, we don't need a spin-off. We need a reboot, and then the spin-offs can be based off that if it's brilliant.
It's an interesting
We
idea.
we just need. I really think that we just need Lincoln to have a 10 daughters and have a new show with them.
I don't know.
That's what I was thinking for when I
No?
wrote. That's what I was thinking for when I wrote adopted. Like have a new member of the family,
Cute.
but he's an orphan.
I always thought.
Oh,
I believe
hey
a
there,
friend of mine told me
buds.
this once,
My
and
my nephew's
yeah,
up now.
he always
I
told
know.
me that an
Hi.
interesting way to finish the show
Hi,
is by
buds.
introducing a
Hi,
new
buds.
brother or sister. What do you think about that?
Yes, how's my buds?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
You
I
heard
think
me?
it's a good idea.
Hey there, Micah.
I really think that
How
would
you
be a
doing?
good way to finish the show.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think did they end Malcolm in the Middle with an extra child? The original. I know they've just done a recent.
They did a
In the original
continuation of it.
finale,
I
it
never.
revealed Lewis was pregnant again, and it's the same sort of thing. In fact, that was very much like a spiritual predecessor when you think about it. Malcolm was the middle child in a family, various misfit siblings.
Oh, you're talking about Malcolm in the Middle, ain't you?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the Loud House in a lot of ways, though, isn't it?
Yeah. It's about the Loud House in the same way.
Oh well, now that I think about it, I really think they did the same with Doug, or from Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
But then Disney bought the rights and continued the show, and they screw it up.
Yeah. But
But yeah,
yeah, so
man.
yeah, we could go on about this forever, but I think we're an hour long now. Let's just wrap things up. 10 years on. For those of you who are listening, what are your thoughts on the show in general? How it's reached this 10-year milestone? Is it a big deal? Are you proud of it? Do you want it to end soon? Do you want it to carry on? How do you think it's changed over time? Do you
Oh, good.
like
You
it?
took it out.
There's a lot of questions here, and we want to hear some answers. So get talking in the
Oh
comments
man, it's
section below.
frozen. I should
Sorry
have told you earlier this was in here.
It's
To be honest,
part of the video, but yeah, here we are. So yeah, sorry. No.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you guys, I think I said it before, but I'm really grateful to the Loud House, to be honest, because I mean, my career of an artist started with the Loud House. It's thanks to them,
Yeah.
the show, and
Yeah.
for me at least, even after the show ends in many years, the Loud House will always, still will remain with me.
Hello.
Yes.
Always, yeah.
Oh.
I don't know about you guys.
Honestly,
Hello.
as Dio, you've done a lot in
Hello
this
there.
fandom.
Hello.
Hello.
Josh's niece, are you?
That's my niece.
But guys,
You can say a few words if you want before we wrap it up.
Hello.
No? So you're the one who got Josh
Hello.
into the Loud House, is that right?
Yeah.
And the Casagrandes. So what are your thoughts on the show? You might as well say.
I like Casagrandes.
Sorry, what was that?
I like the Casagrandes too.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts on these shows?
oh,
Now, who's your best
Nice.
friend on the cusp?
My best friend is Adelaide.
Yeah,
He's a very
so
good character.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. Well, that was good talk.
I mean, I'm really surprised. There are people who actually like the Casagrandes.
Well, I suppose it does have some
I
great
am
episodes
right
in
here.
there and some good characters. So, I get
Yeah, man.
not every episode was great, but then
You know I'm kidding, right?
But anyway,
You know I'm
I'm
kidding,
going to
right?
wrap things up now
You know,
because we'll
yeah.
carry on forever.
Yeah, we know.
So let's just, everyone say what you want in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed this podcast, such as it was. And maybe I'll see you next time. I really have no idea. Peace.